What's up guys, and welcome back to the Bonsai-En YouTube channel. I'm Josh, and today we're going to be taking a look at this Japanese black pine that's suffering some health issues and what we can do moving forward to help rectify those issues. So stick around. Okay, so as mentioned in the intro, this is a Japanese black pine, and I'll give you a quick background of this tree. I'll give you a quick rotation as well so you can see the tree the whole way around. Now this tree was in development for a couple of years. You can actually see a video of it earlier on in our YouTube channel when we first started. The tree was styled up. It was bought as fairly difficult nursery stock, or what I would call difficult nursery stock. It was styled up, then allowed to recover, and let me just put that back to the front there. It was styled up and allowed to recover as seen on the YouTube channel, and then it was put into the bonsai pot that you see here. Now this wasn't necessarily going to be the final pot for the tree, but I did know that I wanted a round pot, so we started off the process just putting it in another round pot so we can kind of just shape the root system until I find the perfect pot for the tree. Now it was allowed to just grow, and why we do that with Japanese black pine is after we cut all the roots off, or cut a lot of the roots off, not all of the roots off, never do that. After we cut a lot of the roots off and put it into the bonsai pot, we want to leave as much needle mass on the tree as possible. We don't want to decandle that year. We just want to let it repopulate the pot full of roots and get that basis of energy back. So that was allowed to happen, but this is where things went a little bit south with this tree. Now the repotting and everything went fine, there was no problem there, but in the period of repotting this tree to now, we actually moved nurseries, okay? And when we moved nurseries, we actually had a flooding event here in Australia. So we had something like, I think it was like 410 mils of rain in a month, okay? That's more than some places in Australia get in a whole year. And we had that in a month. And then it was probably another month or two after that, it just kept raining and raining and raining. And this is a very free draining mix, but the other problem is when we moved to the new nursery, I had to put the trees in a position where they were out of sight because we're near a main road, okay, before we got the fence up. And unfortunately, that out of sight was right up against the building where there wasn't a lot of sunlight at the time and we had constant rain. And then what we ended up with was a tree that ended up with tip blight, okay? So this tree is covered in it. And I was trying to treat the tree chemically, okay, with Kosai Blue. It did put out new growth, which was a bonus. But the new growth that's come out here, as you can see, it's quite long and spindly. But the other problem is we're starting to get that tip blight now in the new growth. Okay, so now's time for action. So, what's the action we're going to take on this tree and why? Okay, so as mentioned, we've tried the chemicals. Okay, we tried that first up, and while it was helping a little bit, it didn't help the problem. And once tip blight gets into a tree, it's really hard to get rid of. So what the plan moving forward now is building a box for the tree, okay, a grow box, getting it out of the bonsai pot, into the grow box, getting it into some Kitty-U, okay, you could also use pumice, but we're going to be using Kitty-U. We're going to get it into the Kitty-U, let it re-establish a bigger, better root system in the box, okay, give it more oxygen, give it more room to grow, let it get that root system. See, the problem is, one of the main problems with bonsai is because we restrict the root system so much, if it does get attacked by something like this, it hasn't got that big bulky root system to help it, fight that disease off, or the pest or whatever you may have. So in this situation, we need to get it back out of the bonsai pot, put it back into a grow box, let a lot of oxygen into the root system, let that root system, grow out. And this is probably going to be a 2-year process. And now we're going to have to let the tree try and build its own strength and fight that, while we've also, you know, got some nice new needles on here, okay? Now, the other issue that we're going to have here is all these old needles on the tree everywhere around here. So this year, this tree was supposed to be decandled, okay? And this was going to be the start of the refinement process. So we would have cut back in and, you know, started to refine this tree. But now, the needles that we would have cut back to are not very good, okay? These are not going to be photosynthetically efficient. They're sick. They're likely going to drop off and die, okay? So if we cut this back to them now, you can see what's going to happen to the tree. It's going to be in a world of hurt and it's probably going to die. So if we want to maintain any kind of a bonsai design, what we're going to have to do is first, and utmost importance, is get it back to health, okay? Then once we've got it back to health, we're going to have to feed it a lot, and we're going to have to push back budding back across these branches. We're going to have to try and get new little buds, let them buds grow out, and then cut back to them and start again. Okay, so this is just unfortunately something that we're going to do. That right now for this tree, I don't see any other, you know, path out of this infection that it has. Okay, the tip blight. So this is just going to be the best way moving forward. So enough talking about the tree. Let's take some action. So first, we're going to build our box. So let's get into it. Alright, so now we've got our box built and I've got it right here. So the next step is going to be getting the tree into the box and into the kitty. So we'll go through and do that, and we'll explain some things along the way that might be important. Now, when it comes to building a box, you guys can probably build a much better box than I am. The last thing I'm going to be in this life is a carpenter, okay? I don't know a lot about it, so you know, I did an okay job of building this box. It'll stay together, so that's all that really matters. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy for me. But what we're going to do now is we're going to start taking the tree out of this pot, have a look at what we've got to work with first of all, and then we'll get it into this grow box. Now, before I take this out of the bonsai pot, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take all the wire off this tree, because we just want to take any other stress factors away from this tree for now, and likely we're going to have to redesign it once it grows out anyway. So having the wire on there is just going to be pointless. So I'll go through, I'll take all that wire off now, and then we'll come back and we'll have a look at getting it out of this bonsai pot. Okay, so now that we've got the wire off the tree, let's go down to the bonsai pot and have a look at getting it out. Alright, we're in nice and close now to the root system. So, a few things here, okay? So I'm going to have to be careful because the edge of the pot here bows out, okay? So you can probably see it, better around this side here. So you can see how the pot bellies out. Now, there's a chance that the roots could have grown out into this area, and I'm going to have to use my sickle, okay, to get them out. But I really don't want to use this if I don't have to, okay? In this kind of pot, this tool is an absolute lifesaver. But in this situation, see, the problem is we're trying to get a healthier root system to help the tree bounce back. And we're not going to get a healthier root system by cutting away roots, okay, with a sickle out of season. So we want to avoid this at all costs, all measures. Either way, this tree is likely going to go into the greenhouse after this anyway, but at all costs we want to try and avoid that. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cut away these tie downs, okay, that were just here. Get rid of the, pieces of wood that we used to hold it down. I might just cut that like that. Now I'll probably have to cut it away from the bottom of the pot as well, but one of the first things I'm going to do here is I'm just going to slowly start, scraping away with my chopstick around the edges and just seeing if I can get a feel for where the roots may or may not have grown to. Now, chances are, because like I mentioned, we had a lot of rain, okay, and not a lot of sunshine, and in that situation, a tree's not going to put on a whole lot of root mass. So, hopefully, we don't have to use the sickle. We can just kind of work away the edge here a little bit with our chopstick. Get rid of a bit of this moss just here, and hopefully we'll be able to get the tree out without using that sickle. So I'm just going to very lightly scrape away here and just see what I can reveal closer to the edge of the pot. Now there probably are going to be roots here, from weeds, like you can see here. So we are probably going to run into some roots along the edge, but whether they're from this pine or weeds, we'll have to have a look. Now it is feeling like the soil is still fairly loose around the edge here. That's quite a big root there from a weed. Okay, so that's not part of the tree. When you're doing this, there's no race. Just take your time. A little bit at a time. You can see I'm not fully getting down to the bottom straight away. I'm just working my way around the pot. Just clearing off some soil around the top. And then as we get round, we'll go a little bit deeper. And we may even be able to just pop the tree straight out of the pot. Now there is you might be looking at these things here and wondering what these are. These are just little balls of slow release fertilizer, but these were spent, quite some time ago. Before I bought the tree in here to film, I actually had tea bags on it, but I took them off obviously before we brought the tree in for filming. They tend to stink out the YouTube studio here at Bonsai-En if we keep the tea bags in here. Okay, I'm going to get just a little bit more aggressive with my chopstick here on our next run around. I may even swap over to the other end now. really, all I'm trying to achieve here is just loosening this up. And we're going to see if we can pop this tree out of the pot without having to use that sickle, because I really don't want to use that sickle. All that akadama and pumice coming out of there. Alright, now I may just, where's the feet on this pot? May just try and flip this up for a minute. Keep a hold of the tree here. Get rid of all the spider webs and stuff that have been living underneath this tree. We're just going to cut off these wire supports. Sorry that you guys can't see that too well. But you can see all that calcium buildup too on the bottom of the pot. Alrighty, so let's get that back down for now. And let's just give the base a wiggle and see what we've got. No. So I'm going to go around again. I'm just going to try and take a bit more of this soil mass out of here. Alright, it feels like we've got a good amount of that soil mass removed from around the edges here. So we'll give the tree another wiggle and just see if we can get a feel for it. No, it's still in there, pretty solid. So we might have to go around and give it another few runs and just see, because yeah, that's in there pretty solid still. Alright, let's give it another wiggle and see where we end up. Okay, starting to budge a little bit. I wonder if I can get the sickle in there and somewhat use it like a shoehorn. Because although I don't want to cut the roots, I can use it to kind of just free it up a little bit. There we go. Oh, now, what have we got here? It's pretty interesting. Just trying to get the potting mesh off the bottom of the root mass here. It's going to be right up under this root mass. because we don't want to keep that on there while we're trying to regrow this new root system. Alrighty. Now it's very interesting what we've got here is that root mat did somewhat grow out into the belly, as you can see here. So that was probably more or less like that with the soil in there. That's where we're working that soil out. But we do have a pretty solid root mass here, and it's good because what I'm seeing is some white tips to some roots, and I'm not seeing any rotted roots, and I'm not smelling any rotted roots. So that's going to give us a head start in this procedure. Now, when it comes to this root ball, I'm not really going to touch any of this, okay? I'm not going to trim it back. That's not what I want to do right now. We're just going to concentrate on getting this in the box and getting it secured nice and tight and giving the tree, you know, lots of oxygen to grow in, plenty of space, and then we'll, once we start establishing some new roots, we'll feed it up with something that's high in potassium, which will also help fight off pests and disease. So we'll make sure we get the tree fed up with, you know, a lot of that. Get this tie down wire out of here. So I'll bring the box up now and we'll have a look at getting this tree in the box. Okay, so we've got the box here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly plonk the tree in there. Okay, and just want to figure out, because I put tie down holes in here, okay, I drilled in the holes for tie downs, and I'll explain why that's going to be super important in a minute. But right now I just want to figure out which tie downs are going to be the best for me to use. So that one and that one there. So I might just put a mark in there to let me know that one there, that one there, and that one there. Alright, so we'll take the tree back out now, and I'll get my wire, okay. I'm going to want about that much, like that. Like about that. Okay, so that's one side. I'm going to want that much, like that. Like about that. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to want to just put my tie downs into the bottom of the box, into those holes that I selected. Alright, now our tie downs are in. So, tie downs, why are they so important in regular bonsai repotting, but super, super important for this kind of situation? Now, let's just say we put this tree in the pot, right? And especially for this tree, because see, I know some of the growth's off camera right now, but most of the growth is up the top of the tree, okay? So this tree is going to be very wind heavy. When the wind blows, you can, see how much it'll move this tree. So what happens is, as the wind blows like that, you want to make sure that your root system does not move, okay? Because as those new little soft white roots start to grow and develop, what will happen is if they go out into the soil, okay, and then you get this kind of motion with the tree, they'll tear, okay? And when a tree's not stable like that, it's not going to want to put out new roots. So having your tree tied in, nice and tight, making it nice and firm so it doesn't move is of utmost importance in this situation, but not only in this situation, but in regular repotting, because it's the same thing. You've got roots that have been cut, okay, you go back into the bonsai pot, you're in loose medium now, okay, the medium's not all compacted like it was when you pulled it out of the pot, so it's in loose medium that's not going to support the tree at all, so you really need to make sure you get it tied down properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this tree back out now, okay, I'll bring the camera in, we'll start putting the kitty in, we'll put the tree back in the center of the pot and we'll get it tied down. So I'll bring the camera in nice and close and we'll get onto that. Alright, so now we've got our box, we've got our mesh, which you've seen when we're putting the box together, very important, so your soil doesn't fall out, pests don't get in, all that good stuff. We've got our tie down wires, so now I've got some Kitty here. Now Kitty is a volcanic sand, okay? This is very commonly used in Japan for pine bonsai and coniferous bonsai as well, but mainly for pine bonsai. And it's also used very widely for bringing back to health pine bonsai that are sick. So, as mentioned before, you can use Kiryu. If you can't get your hands on Kiryu, then you can use pumice. It'll do just as good of a job. It's going to be very well draining. It's going to be very well aerated, so we're going to get that oxygen into the root system that it's going to need to grow back at the rate that we're going to want it to grow back. And with this particular thing here, I'm not actually going to really put a larger layer. Most of this is fairly large size Kiryu that I've put together here. So we're just going to start putting this in the box and creating a bottom layer that we can sit the tree on, because obviously we don't want to just sit the tree, straight into the box. Try and get that in there nice and evenly spread out. Alrighty, so we've got our nice even layer there. Now what I'm going to do is in the middle, I'm actually going to put like a little mountain of soil. And what we're going to do is once we put the tree in there, we're going to work it down onto that little mound of soil. Now, I'm going to try and bring the tree in here, because you can see in here, there's now a hole where we took that potting mesh out. So we want to make sure we get that soil up into that hole and get it worked in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the front of my tree. Not that that's too important at this moment, but I'd still like it to look pretty nice in the box. Okay, now we're going to sit it on that mountain that we've made there. And we're just going to, let me just move here so I can support the box with my knees. Okay, and we're just going to work the tree down onto that mound. Now I'm just going to turn it this way for a second. There we go, that's about the front there. Alright, so you can see that we've got the tree worked in there now. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our tie downs to secure the tree into the box, and then we'll fill the rest of it in with some soil. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I've got some chopsticks just here that you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm thinking that the best way to go is probably going to be diagonal like this, and then also diagonal like this. So what I don't want to do is tie these wires directly down on the root system themselves. So what we're going to do is bring in some chopsticks. That way the wire actually comes down over the chopstick and tightens down over that, rather than down on all these little roots here. So now I'm going to want to put a set of these just there like that. Set over here. Now they're probably going to fall away, so you just get them roughly into position where you want them until you actually tie the tree down. Now once again, don't worry about the presentation, whether you can see the chopsticks once you've filled the soil in or anything like that. We're not worrying about aesthetics at the moment. This is just 100% about the health of the tree. Alright, so I've got my gym pliers. Now we're going to start tightening down some of these wires. So I might just start with these ones on this side just here. So I'll try and pull these up as tight as I can over that bit of chopstick there. Okay, pull that up over here. And then pull that side down on that chopstick there. And then we'll just give it a quick twist there just to secure that and hold it. Now, I'll cut this down with my wire cutters. And then much like normal, we're just going to come in and we're going to grab that bit of wire, okay? And we're going to pull and twist, okay? And this is especially important with aluminium wire, because if you let the wire turn too much on the same spot, it'll actually break, okay? You'll get tension and it'll break. Now we're going to cut that a little bit off there. Now we'll come to this side and we'll do the same. Get that there like that. Make sure those chopsticks are in place. Give it a quick turn. Cut, okay. So as you can see there, we've got our little bit we can grab onto. So I'll turn this way so you can see. So now that we've grabbed onto that, make sure the chopsticks are secure, and we pull and twist. All right, nice and tight, nice and secure. That's what we wanted. Get rid of that. So now you can see that if I move the trunk, see how the whole box moves, and not this outside of the root system, because this just here, this is where all our new little roots are going to shoot from. And you can see that they move with the box in tandem. So that's going to be a good environment for our new roots to grow in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fill in the rest of this pot here with our kitty. Now, a quick little tidbit while I'm doing this just here. You're gonna notice that I'm not actually gonna fill the box all the way up, okay? On this side, this is probably as high as I'm gonna go, because what I wanna do is I wanna keep this here, the original root ball, I wanna keep this exposed. Because what's gonna happen, okay, moving forward now with this tree, what'll happen is, when I water, this is gonna dry out quicker than this, okay? Because this out here, this is all unoccupied soil. So it's gonna hold the moisture, and it's not gonna have any roots to take that moisture away, so it's gonna dry at its own pace. Where this stuff in here is got roots that's gonna take the moisture away. So this center is gonna dry out quicker than this. And moving forward now, our watering for this tree is gonna be crucial. So we wanna make sure we can still see this very clearly, and this right here, this center root mass, is what we're going to be determining our watering off, when we water and how much we water and all that good stuff. Just want to see that I've got enough up in here. Alright, last little bit of kitty here. Looks like I sieved out just enough for what we needed here. Alright. So as you can see now, we're in the box, we're nice and tied down, secure. We've got our little bit here that we can still see. Okay, and one thing that I'm just gonna quickly do, not that it's gonna be mega important, but right around the edges there, where we had that little bit of mat at the bottom, I'm just gonna make sure that all this soil is worked down into there, because even though at this point right now we want a good amount of oxygen in this root system, we don't want too much oxygen. You know, we lose control of that balance of water and oxygen, and we're going to have just as many problems. So I just want to make sure that this kitty is nice and worked into that mat of roots that was around the edge. Alright, so that's that part done. Alright, so as you can see, we're done here. We've got the tree into the grow box now. We've got it into the kitty. We've got it tied down nice and tight, nice and secure. And hopefully now we can start the recovery of this tree, okay? Really look after it, really watch its watering. We might protect it for a little bit in the greenhouse, okay? Once we're happy that it's got some new roots that are growing, then we'll start fertilizing with high potassium fertilizer, which, as I mentioned before, will help us fight off the fungal issue, which is tip blight. Now, I didn't mention at the start of the video, but the way you can tell that your pine has tip blight is you'll see banding on the needles, okay? So you'll see like green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow in bands down the needles. And also some of the needles in the middle or on the tips or wherever it may be, you'll actually see some little bits of dieback of the needle, so little black spots on them. And they'll likely be in bands as well. So, as mentioned, this tree just suffered it because the water had sat on it too long, okay? And when you've got lots of water present, that's what actually activates the spores of tip blight. So it was just unfortunate that, you know, the timing of the move, the tree would have been weak as well because of its recent repot. And just all these things add up, and now we've got to take these corrective measures, okay? I'm still gonna apply the chemical, okay? Because the chemical's not actually gonna hurt the tree or weaken it. So we're just gonna attack it twofold now, okay? We're gonna hit it with the chemical still on the needles and try and keep the actual tip blight at bay as much as we can, but also we're going to allow this tree now to grow a nice big strong root system in this box over, I said, probably the next two growing seasons, okay, and just start again. That's all we can do with this tree for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today and have learnt a little bit about some of the remedies that we have to take in bonsai when we run into problems, okay? And this is bonsai. We are going to run into problems no matter who you are or, you know, how good you are at bonsai. These things come along and they bite you in the bum now and then. And this is just, you know, one of those things. If you do bonsai, some of the sacrifices that we've got to make. This tree that's in my collection now is going to be set back, you know, quite a few years because of this now. So, you know, this is also a good lesson to try and keep up with your, you know, spraying routines. If you spray for pests and disease, okay, keep up with those routines if your area calls for that. You know, here in Australia, we usually don't suffer with this too much because we don't have lots of wet weather like that. It was just that one time where we'd had ridiculous amounts of rain and everything all added up, and this is where we ended up. If you guys want to learn some more from us, I'll leave a link down in the description below to our Bonsai Dojo, which you can sign up for our beginners course right now. 4 hours of awesome content, okay? It'll teach you all the foundations of bonsai, including positioning, watering, wiring, fertilizing, soil types, tool types, types of material that we will run into in bonsai, how to create the 5 basic styles of bonsai, basic pot choice, all that good stuff, okay? And it's very, very cheap, over 4 hours of content there. So click the link down in the description below and go and check that out. Also, you'll see our t-shirts down below on that bar. Click on those t-shirts, have a look through the store, see if there's a design you like in there. We've got quite a few designs. We've got our new blood, sweat and shears design available now, so go and check that out because that really helps this channel out and helps us create more videos moving forward and higher quality videos moving forward. But until next time, enjoy your bonsai journey.